this might be controversial. I think it's actually more harmful to be texting quickly and rushing a connection and constantly wanting to text back and forth someone that you just met. This pattern is in a lot of stories of people who have been love bombed or are dealing with a romance scammer or a catfisher, compared to taking things more slowly like an avoidant person. Hey guys, this is Wanda. Welcome to Confessions of an Avoidant. And in this video, I want to talk about 3 strange avoidant behaviors that I often see people assigning negative intent to. Maybe they freak out about it. Maybe they think it's a bad sign of how the avoidant feels about them, when it's really pretty harmless. The avoidant's not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to manipulate you. So as long as you cannot take it as a personal attack, it is quite harmless. Now, before I get into these 3 things, I also just want to say, of course, this doesn't mean that avoidant behaviors are never hurtful or frustrating. And this goes for all attachment styles, that the more extreme the person is in that attachment style and the more they are so unable to have any sort of introspection or self-reflection or self-accountability, then of course their behaviors are going to be frustrating, hurtful. But maybe when it's not that extreme and we are just with someone who just has a completely opposite attachment style to us, naturally we'll find some of their behaviors weird and frustrating. I've dated and had anxious exes, and I found some of their behaviors really strange and bizarre, and sometimes the lengths that they would go to maintain a connection, or some of their lack of boundaries, were just so strange to me. But now that I understand attachment styles, I also majored in psychology when I went to college or university. I can, instead of just seeing everything through the lens of my avoidant attachment style, I can kind of take off my tinted avoidant glasses and see people more clearly without my biases getting in the way. So just to reiterate one last time, of course, anybody in any attachment style will have behaviors that their partner will feel hurt by. When I say harmless, I just mean the behaviors I'll talk about are ones where I see people thinking they're being done to hurt their partner when there's a totally innocent purpose for the behavior. And by the way, I use the word strange in the title just because it's YouTube, and if you don't use some hyperbolic terms, then the algorithm will punish you and be like, we're not showing your video to anybody. But in reality, nobody's attachment behaviors are strange. We've all just been conditioned differently. We have different life experiences, different traumas. We're modeled differently. Nobody's strange, okay? But I need to get people to click on the video. So with that being said, let's get into these 3 behaviors. So the first one is that us avoidants, we can be slow when it comes to texting people back, keeping a conversation going. When we're newly dating someone or we're in a relationship, we might not be wired to want to stay on top of every single text. And as soon as someone texts us, text them back immediately. I'll often see people assign negative intent to this because they can only see it through the lens through which they would text someone slowly or not text them back quickly themselves. So for us avoidants, we might be slow with texting because we don't have modeling with frequent communication, constantly checking in with people, saying hi and bye as we came and went from our home in our family system. I remember when I would come home, coming in and out of the house, my parents treated me like I was in a shared house with them, and I was the weird roommate upstairs that they were like, oh, we don't say hi to them. That is literally how my parents treated me. So that's why we can be so programmed to let others be, leave them alone and be left alone. And of course, every avoidant has their own specific story of their past, but that's why this is just normal for us. But maybe for another attachment style, the only reason that they wouldn't text back quickly, or they would, take hours to respond to a text later, is because they're trying to get under someone's skin. They're trying to teach someone a lesson. So in their mind, because there can only be a negative purpose for doing that, they are projecting onto the avoidant person that only they have negative purposes for doing this. And it's truly quite harmless if the partner can just not personalize it so much, because regardless of whether we have this partner or not, we're this way in our lives with friends, with family, with exes, with future friends, with future coworkers, blah, 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 blah. It's just how we are. The second thing is needing our alone time, needing time and space for ourselves. So this is another thing where I can see people assigning negative intent to this when they're so used to spending a lot of time with their partner. And I understand that it's frustrating, especially when you're in a relationship with an avoidant person. I really understand that it's frustrating. It can be jarring, especially if they're more extreme and they don't want to see their partner maybe more than like 3 times a week. Or it's not that they don't want to, they're just not wired to. But I validate your feelings. It can be quite frustrating, but I also want to reassure anyone who's going through this with an avoidant person that, again, that there's not a negative intent to it. It might feel like that, it might feel like they're punishing you, but they're just moving at their pace that their body finds normal, that their body recognizes as safe for their nervous system. They're not doing it to get under your skin or to hurt you. And I think anyone who's truly in a relationship with an avoidant person probably understands that there's so many other positives about this person, that this thing is particularly annoying, but it's worth trying to navigate because of the other good things about this person. Unless, of course, they are that more extreme avoidant, super repressed in their emotions, their feelings. And every time you try to find a compromise in this regard or collaborate on having conversations with this and proposing solutions, they shut down and they are never, ever, ever willing to entertain a conversation. But even in that extreme case, I can reassure people that even that person is not doing it to try to get under their partner's skin. That is just their pace, and that's all that they know. And if you can see it as a harmless thing that's not trying to have an effect on you, then you can be less bothered by it. And for a lot of avoidant people like myself, like when we need more alone time than maybe other attachment styles, sometimes it's like we need time to get back to ourselves, do things that matter to us, film our YouTube videos for our YouTube channel, or maybe other things like working out or just unwinding. And there's certain ways we unwind that we just truly feel only comfortable doing when we're completely alone. So again, it's not meant to hurt the other person. And it's like if the other person can just see it as that, then they won't take it so personally and like lose their mind over it. So the third thing is taking it slow. And some avoidants can really move at a snail's pace. And this can be so annoying for somebody who's in a relationship, especially like they're 3-4 months into a relationship with an avoidant person. I get it. Whether it's slow for commitment, whether it's slow for spending more time together, slow to introduce the partner to family, friends, communicating better, texting. Actually, to go back to the texting example that I gave, this might be controversial, but I'm going to say it anyway, because avoidant people get such a bad rap. There's so much shaming, like rhetoric of everything about avoidant attachment online, even though I think taking things slow is like a pretty harmless thing, can actually be a good thing early on. So again, this might be controversial, but I think it's actually more harmful and more dangerous to oneself to be texting quickly and rushing a connection and constantly wanting to text back and forth someone that you just met and it's early into dating, compared to taking things more slowly like an avoidant person. Because I've seen that this pattern of rushing is in a lot of stories of people who have been love bombed, people who found themselves susceptible to a narcissist or a sociopath, or are dealing with a romance scammer or a catfisher. And whether you text slower or faster, neither has negative intentions. Neither is coming from a bad place. It's two people just trying to connect with somebody at the speed through which they understand. I just find it interesting that the internet is so hard on the avoidant pattern, that is taking its time more and doing a bit more vetting than being in a rush, when being so quick about texting it could be explored more to help educate people to avoid romance scammers, catfishers, narcissists, sociopaths, people like that who want to take advantage of you. So I'm not trying to shame anybody who moves quickly in the dating process and with texting and stuff. I just find it interesting that everything about avoidant attachment just gets such a bad rap. Even something like this that is actually has a lot of positives and benefits early into dating, to not take part in romance scam or love bombing type of behavior. And yet it still gets such a bad rap. There's always negative intent assigned to it. It's always being interpreted the wrong way. But that's why I'm making this video, because I just wanted to explain some of these things so that, hopefully it helps people who just find avoidant attachment so foreign to them. And us avoidants, we find other people's attachment styles so foreign to us. But I think part of life is just like letting people be different and not feeling a need to rush to judgment or shame of that person for their differences, and seeing a lot of those differences as truly quite harmless. So I hope you guys appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much, because it helps my channel so much. And thanks for everyone who has subscribed to this channel thus far and supports it and enjoys the content. Thank you. I will see you in the next video.